All right, everybody, welcome to the Tactical Games Podcast. I'm here with James Gill, match director extraordinaire, and we're going to talk to you guys a little bit today about the team event, some of our upcoming scoring updates, and our road trip we have coming up. So let's dive first into it. Let's go into kind of like a recap of the team event that we had at YO. Tell me about what you thought about the event, and I'll give you my perspective as a competitor.
Well, for once, we were 100% catering two teams, which was a change. So those of you that showed up as individuals, sorry. This was a team event, but really excited to try, a couple of different things. Nick and I have been talking about team events where what we wanted competitors to do. I think we got pretty close to that on this one. There's a few things that obviously the weather kind of ruined some things for you guys out there in the mud, but overall, I think the venue was awesome. So being able to have the elite teams go off site for a couple different things was awesome. Everybody else got a huge nature run, which was really exciting. Those people that managed to not get lost, ongoing thing. But I don't really have too many complaints about the team event. I would like to do another one a little better. So obviously we're going to rehash this in New Hampshire.
Sure.
You competed, so obviously you're there, you're the owner, so you're seeing stuff behind the scenes, but then as you come over match day, you got to experience Gill as a match director.
Yeah.
Right? So how'd that go coming up to the scoring tent 35 minutes late?
Well, so I was one of the last heats to judge, so I didn't get the opportunity to check out my target. So I came back afterwards, and I walked up, and the woman was so excited as I was coming to her. I was like, "Hey, can I see my targets?" And then out of nowhere, this very angry man comes hobbling over. He's like, "Competitor, you cannot see your targets. It's past your time. Come to arbitration later." And I put my head down and hobbled away, and appreciate that. Like, I don't get to break the rules, just like everybody else is expected to be beholden to them. So I appreciate that for sure.
But that brought up a good point. We've had a lot of people asking about that. So we're adjusting a few things going forward with how the score is going to be input, putting more, not responsibility, but responsibility to the competitors, and then they'll be able to verify their scores before they leave the stage.
Yep.
So signing out with your score, so that will eliminate probably 95% of the issues that we have at the matches of work penalties or work points that are usually not written down or something of that nature. So we're going to make sure that that's put in place and verified before you walk away.
So let's talk about that whole process just so people understand. So after you've competed, after you're done with your stage, you are then going to judge the next group, which is standard. That's how we've been doing it for many years. After you are done judging, your target should be scored. So you're going to review the scores in your target. That's your opportunity to take the photos and to gather that information. And that is also when you're going to review any work penalties or points that you received for the work that you did in the last stage. That is going to be the time when you will sign your name, whether you agree or disagree on it. If you do not have a signature next to your name on your score, you are not going to be able to arbitrate that score at the end of the day or the end of Sunday. And the reason for that is when people step away, especially when it's a day later or a couple hours later, and you go and try to find the person that judged them or they were confused or something happened, there is zero chance they're going to remember what the hell happened that day. So this will help ensure that those things aren't happening. Another thing that we talked about doing, and I'm pretty stoked about this actually, is the stage walkthrough videos. So every one of our stages is going to have a video, and the stage brief will be read, and that'll include standards that we're going to put in. That'll include maybe a little bit about the target, but mostly about the physical aspect, how it's going to be scored, so people have a better understanding going in of what they're getting into. I think a lot of times people are just kind of lost in the sauce of, they nod their heads up and down when you're telling them the stage brief, and then it's 3, 2, 1, go, and they're like, I had no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
And it's, one of those things where if you've been around the sport for a while, you kind of have the idea of what's going on, but even the most seasoned athletes make mistakes.
Zach Rodman.
All of us, right? Showing up to a line with an empty mag, just forgetting something, it happens. And it's a little bit easier when you're with a group of other experienced athletes, because as you're going through, when you come around the corner, you're looking at your athlete judge, and they're saying, pick up this or move, they can guide you through the event.
Yep.
Well, those of you showing up for your first time and you're judging somebody or being judged by a first-time competitor, you're asking the blind for help.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but going through with that, we want to make sure that at every level of competition, if you're a new competitor or a seasoned competitor, when you're going through, you have the same advantage. You know exactly what's going on. You have the same guidance. And so we're asking everybody, hey, take a look at these videos. Like, we post the rules ahead of time. People still have questions about muzzle brakes, right?
Yeah.
We're putting all the resources out there for you guys. And there's a reason we're doing that. We want to give you every opportunity to perform well. And the last thing we want to do is have somebody show up to the event and it's unclear.
Yeah.
And I constantly remind competitors, if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask people. The best person to ask is probably the official, the RO on that stage, the match director. I know every stage inside and out. Nick Palacios, the key staff members. Now, our volunteers, we love them to death, but most of them show up Saturday morning. So maybe don't take their word as golden.
Yeah. The RO is the one to ask if you have a question. If you're asking a volunteer, they might be there to reset targets or to count hits. Beyond that, like, they might not have much information about what's actually happening on the stage. So the RO is good. You, myself, or Nick Palacios is best.
Yep.
Understanding we're not always around, but if you're at the stage, the RO is the person that you go to. If you go to them and they tell you something that's wrong, that's how it is now. Now it's set in stone. Now that's how everybody's going to perform that for the rest of the day. And we've seen that, right? We've seen ROs that have maybe gotten confused about something, and then they get caught in this mess of, like, now a standards change. We saw that in Arizona, right? And we do everything to try to address that, but sometimes it just happens, right? We run a lot of events and try to make the most out of it, and every once in a while those things happen. But I think getting these standard videos out there is going to help people tremendously. We're going to have the ROs that are leading the stage do the voiceovers, so they'll know the standards. They're going to have all of that information beforehand, and I think that's going to make a better end product for the athletes.
Yep, and what I'm most excited for about the end result from the Texas match, that event, we had multiple moving parts. We had the carbine and long run for the normal or most divisions within a 5-minute drive of the range. Then we had the elite run, the elite carbine stage, the blind stage. So we had to bus off site. A lot of moving parts there and a ton of staff, which was nice. But it allowed us to see that, one, we could put 160, 180 plus competitors through
216
as far as teams.
Yeah.
And run through trying some different things. And even when the weather hit, the competitors stepped up and realized, hey, it's muddy first thing Sunday morning. It's miserable. Well, welcome to the TAC game. Yeah. Embrace the misery.
Yeah.
But allowed us to work on a few different things. So I'm looking forward to Idaho coming up. Actually, I'm kind of, my eyes are set down the road. You mentioned some things about Utah. We'll get into that later. But I'm excited to see the end result. The stuff that we see behind the scenes, some of our staff members might see stuff that we're worried about, but the end result to the competitors, if anybody's unhappy, please come tell me. But,
I will say, as a competitor at YO at the team event, that was my favorite event I've ever competed in. And I think I've got like maybe 22 competitions under my belt in tactical games. That was, I loved all the stages. I really did. Even like, it was funny. I had the opportunity, because I knew what I was going to be doing for some of them a couple weeks out. I had the opportunity to, I could fucking cheated and just gone and tried them, got my pacing and all that stuff. I didn't touch any of that equipment, and I don't think I would have done better had I done it, right? That's kind of the beautiful thing about this is Matt and I got our asses kicked handedly. Matt's a new shooter, but came out there for the first time, had a great time. He expressed how much he enjoyed it, how much he enjoyed the people out there, how much he enjoyed the physical aspect of it. For me, let's talk about the run and the shoot a little bit, because there's only about 40 people that know what we did. The one thing we didn't do a great job of that weekend was covering that part of it, and we can kind of get into why. But we Saturday afternoon at about 3:30, had everybody meet at the Chuck Wagon, which was maybe about 10-minute drive away from where the ranges were. We all jumped on a giraffe. It was a leopard bus.
It was a safari bus. It's meant for middle school children. Yeah.
Not 30 dudes with kit and guns. And we jumped on the bus and drove about 25 minutes over to Two Dot Ranch, which Two Dot Ranch is an absolutely beautiful ranch right next door to YO. From there, we had a ruck. We started out with 10 pounds in our rucks. All 30 of us got out of the bus, grabbed our rucks, and immediately launched into what was like a 2.6 mile run in some pretty hellacious terrain. I mean, it's not like a flat run.
2.6 out.
Yeah. And during that, so we started with 10 pounds in our ruck. We grabbed 10 pounds halfway through. When we got to the Mayan temple at 2.6 miles, there's a Mayan temple out there, which had a big ass American flag on the front of it. That shit was cool. We added another 10 pounds into our ruck. So then we ran back what was actually, I'm sorry, it was 2.4 miles to the temple. The run back was 3 miles, or just under 3 miles, because we took a different route back with the 30 pounds, and it finished maybe the last 400 meters of it, maybe less than that, was just stairs.
All the rock steps, yeah.
Dude, and like my legs were so jacked up by the time we got there, and I could see the end, but the stairs just never seemed to stop. And Zach looked at me and was like, how much longer is this run? And I was like, Zach, I don't fucking know. I have no idea. I've not done this before. And he was so mad at me that I couldn't give him an answer, but like I had no idea where it was. So it was a very cool end. We all did some interviews up there right next to the pool, and then we all got in the bus again, and we drove like another 15 minutes over to, what do they call it? Something Vista.
The Casa Vista, yeah.
Casa Vista area, which is Two Dot's range. And then we all sat on the bus until it was our chance to shoot. Our shooting order was dictated by how we came in from the run. I stole that from Mammoth. That was not like my unique idea. I just thought that was really cool from Mammoth. And we went out and we shot a blind carbine stage, which to my knowledge, we've not ever done at the tactical games before, maybe early on, but it was really cool. Like, and what you did out there was awesome, because I went and I saw the IPSC, and immediately I thought, okay, like just judging on distance and target size, I was like 300 yards, first one, got on that tripod, banged my first shot, sailed it over the head. And then I was like, oh shit, that target's at 200 yards, because they were like 1/3 IPSCs, or they were quarter size or something like that. So I immediately adjusted and got a hit, and Matt held his own very well on that. I think everybody really enjoyed that until we got back on the bus, and then there was just 30 wet, stinky ass dudes.
So a couple things with that. I feel bad for a couple reasons. One is we have the load up on the bus. Everybody wants to perform, so they're asking questions, and I'm being a dick and then just saying, get on the bus. And everybody was pretty unhappy with me. I know it. Then as we're going on the bus, I'm having to yell loud enough so everybody can hear me, and I'm trying to be clear with what I'm saying as to not confuse everybody. Yeah. Then Lauren immediately steps into interview, and I'm like, I don't know how to to go one to the other. But the run, I think, went off without a hitch.
Yeah.
I was a little worried about the time hack for people not making the drop dead cutoff. I figured there would be some teams. I figured 40, 42 minutes would win it, and it was about 45, I think, or 48. And so getting everybody back and not having to leave people there, that would have been a really frustrating thing on our end if we didn't give enough. Like, we wanted to make it manageable, but we also wanted to stress them of, you need to get back here or you're going to zero your next stage.
Yep.
The blind event, I knew that even if I put 5 targets side by side, just the communication between team members would, no one had time to game plan because they all came off the bus blind.
Yep.
I instructed everybody to put their head down. Nobody could pay. Like, Zach got off the bus and he had pee on the other side of the bus, and he's trying to walk backwards to me, and I'm like, all right, just walk over here. Like, you can't see the stage from here. Just walk over here. And he's like, I'm not looking. So I felt bad in the sense that, one, as you guys were starting to tighten up on the bus in that cold, wet weather, waiting for your turn to shoot, I didn't run, so I felt great. When you guys were running, I was watching you guys on a telescope from the 2-dot ranch.
With a cocktail in your hand.
Didn't get a cocktail, but I was thinking about it. But just no time to prep for that stage. So it was really neat to see how the teams were communicating with each other. And there's a lot of individuals there that were pretty upset with their performance, with their teammates' performance. And as soon as the stage ended for each of them, each of those teams, they all stood up and their demeanor changed. And it was like, oh, I had a rangefinder, a laser rangefinder binos. We had a tripod. We had a shooting mat. I had all sorts of implements out there that you could use, and you just shoot from whatever. And some teams figured out the rangefinder thing, went to pick them up, but then didn't get enough time to shoot. And it was kind of neat to see everybody pace through it. But as soon as the stress went away from the timer, they were like, oh, like we were just looking at the wrong target. The communication skills with the teammates, that was something that I knew was going to happen for each of the team members or each of the teams coming to this event. So you and Matt, talked with each other, had whatever prep time you could possibly have. Well, if you're not talking during the event, it doesn't matter.
Especially when it's a you go, I go, and we're trying to blind identify targets from two different positions.
And the same thing for every other event that weekend. The teams that did well were teams that were able to say, hey, look, this is what's going on. You do this, I do this. Got it. If something changes, this is how we'll do it. I forget what the stage was, but the over, under, box step over stage.
A hill to die on.
The hill to die on. That stage, just watching team members, one team member was going under every time. And it was like the big dude on the team. I'm like, hey, maybe swap out, have the smaller guy go under, like, evenly abuse yourselves, however you want to do this. But, when it started clicking of like, okay, now we're tagging out as we go. It started making sense for people. And on the blind carbine stage for the elite teams, that was one where, watch some shooters who are very skilled, but both teammates were skilled, but just weren't able to communicate fast enough to get on target. And it's like I always say, it's extremely frustrating for me to watch people doing those things because I want to coach them.
You want to help.
Moment. And so, the hardest part for me was as you guys were coming off the bus, saying the exact 11 words to you guys, walking up to the firing line and being like, boop, timer's going. And, so I think that might be something that we potentially revisit.
When the location allows for it. Because that one was perfect because we could hide it so far away. Nobody knew where it was. So and we kept all that under wraps until we got on the bus. And I had seen the run route beforehand, but like I said, I didn't run it intentionally because I didn't want to, I don't know, I just didn't want to cheat, honestly. But that from a competitor's perspective was really freaking cool. And you could do it with 30 people. You can't do it with 220 people.
No, that would be a little rough. Doing runs off-site are entirely possible if we do bulk launches or something. And obviously, when we go travel to some of these places, we want you guys to come out and see the environment. Like when we go to Utah, it's beautiful out there. Why would we not want to go there?
Right.
So we don't want to go to a beautiful landmark.
Sierra Vista.
And then have you run in a state or in a indoor, lap circuit. Okay, that's boring. All right, everybody on a treadmill for 45 minutes. But knowing that in the future, if we try and do these blind events, this is the next thing that comes up. The spirit of the games. In the moment when we're on the bus and I'm telling everybody, if you put your head up and you look at what's going on, you're going to be disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Right.
I think everybody understood right there that one, I was saying it, I'm serious. But two, okay, there's a reason we're doing this. Hey, let's rise to the challenge instead of like
buddy fucking.
Do you want to win under like nefarious circumstances? And that's going forward. That's what we're trying to get across to everybody. When the description says pass over this line, just step over it. We're not trying to shortcut it. And this is the funny part of it, where we went from everybody trying to go to a 5-pound rifle because their rifle's too heavy. all of you guys are athletes, like supreme athletes. Take the extra step.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And like, I've definitely been in the heat of something. I remember we did a bag hold stage last year at the team event. And like, I remember my hamstring screaming at me. And in the stage description, I wrote, like, it can't rest on your thighs. And I literally, like, I wasn't resting on my thighs, but from the looks of it, like, maybe Jake was judging me. He was like, hey, get it off your thighs. And I was like, hey, it's not on my fucking thighs. Trust me right now. I promise you I'm not resting it on my thighs. I think that there are people that intentionally try to cut corners to win. And then there are people that, like, in the heat of the moment, don't pay attention to what's happening. And I think it's pretty easy to tell the difference between those two things. And when it's repeated, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah. And with the athlete judging, you know, we're doing what we can to ensure that everybody knows the exact standard for the stage, the movements of the stage, so that you know what to judge, what to recommend, or, you know, hey, remind your athlete to do this. We're not going to remind athletes to pick up their magazines because then they have to run back to the line. Well, do you feel like a jerk watching somebody run back empty-handed because they forgot a mag? Yeah, but that's also the game. Like,
that's my favorite thing in the world is when I see people forget it. Fuck yeah. Because I've done it. I do it all the time.
You were the one that implemented that. And at least 3 different times I can think of that we've proofed stages, you forget your mags, and I laugh every time. So yeah, it's one of those challenges in the events. You know, we're kind of doing simplified stages of fire now.
Yeah.
So we might start ramping things up with different firing sequences each round, those types of things. And as we put these challenges up, we're not trying to trip people up or to hurt somebody's performance. We're trying to expose them to other things and say, hey, this is part of the game as well. Weapons maintenance.
Yeah.
Right? Arizona was so dusty.
Yeah.
It was a terrible environment for firearms. And the people that didn't maintain their firearms struggled because of it.
Yep. I saw magazines cause so many issues in the week in Arizona.
I think we've posted videos about how to clean mags. Yeah. I think we've posted weapons maintenance videos. I tell everybody in tune-ups and all the training things like, yes, clean and oil your gun. Leave it in your gun case until you're going to go shoot. But those are all parts of the events. And you know, some of us that are aware of those things, we try and tell other people, and they're just like, I'm not going to focus on this. Okay, that's fine. But like, you still have to step over this line. You still have to do this. So as the events are getting harder, just know that we're trying to keep it manageable for everybody involved.
Right.
And for those of you that are supreme experienced athletes and shooters, you know, if we tell you to shoot a target array in a particular order, one, there's a reason we do that. In the case of our 2-gun stage from Texas, we had an RO that had to witness both shooters hitting steel targets to verify that they're hit, because you can't verify. If you go look at holes on paper, anybody can see that after the fact. Right. But was there hit on steel or not? So you have to have somebody there to verify that. So if we give you a target engagement, it's for a reason.
Because when we did the brief on that stage, the 2-gun stage, for those of you that weren't there, there was a Humvee out there, 3, 2, 1, go. First shooter, which was the driver, got out, engaged 4 pieces of paper and then 4 pieces of steel. They cleared their pistol, holstered, hands up clear, ran to the back, slapped the back of the Humvee. Then the passenger got out, passenger engaged the 4 pieces of paper, and then finished on the 4 pieces of steel. Clearing procedure, hands up, clear. Everybody runs their rifle. They run onto the next bay, and it was 100-yard engagement from a barricade of different size, like a steel array. Was there 6 pieces of steel out there?
7 steel.
7 pieces of steel out there. When we were doing the walkthrough, the first thing I saw was that giant ass piece of steel out there right off the hood of the car. So immediately I was thinking, like, okay, I'm going to draw and I'm going to point shoot at that, and then I'm going to find my dot and I'm going to carry on through the rest of the array. And then in the brief, I heard them say that we had to shoot paper first and then steel afterwards. So that kind of kiboshed my plan. And immediately I was like, well, that's fucking dumb. Why do I have to shoot it that way? And then hearing your explanation of like, no, this is to ensure that the RO has an opportunity to get to the other side of the car. Then it becomes like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I totally understand this.
Yeah, because I mean, if we did it on the long range stage and we just let every athlete just shoot, we're not going to say anything. You shoot till you think you hit it.
Yeah.
And then when you're done, you just leave the stage.
Yeah.
And then we'll score it. And when you run off, I'll be like, turns out you had 11 misses. And you're like, well, which one? Like, how do we arbitrate that? Like, you guessed.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think I did like the carbine stage for the regular event. I say the regular event, but all the other divisions minus the elite. That carbine stage, again, because it was the team aspect. If we shot that as a solo, it would probably be, okay, they're real, 2 banks of targets, 65 and 85 yard piece of steel right off the rip, banks of 260 or 290 or whatever they were, and then 400.
Yep.
The targets were lined up one after the other. And that was, again, that team aspect of, hey, you can spot for your teammate.
Yep.
You can give them corrections on, like, you're literally in glass right next to them pointing at the same target. So when you see them whiff off the left side and they're sitting there and they're saying, I don't know where it's at, you can say, you're just off the left edge.
Yeah.
You can yell at them, shoot faster.
Have a target. Yeah.
Pull the trigger. Any of those things. So that was a pretty fun stage. I know the ROs had fun shooting it to proof it, and everybody's like, oh, this stage is easy. I'm like, okay, well, then you watch people go through match day, and when the timer goes off for real, everybody's just, the confusion sets in, and the run course was pretty nice. It was a little longer than what I would have liked, but we got to see, I want to know how many people got chased by that goose. Or the swan.
The swans?
The aggressive swans.
Yeah. I know Roe almost got bit by it. Roe was intentionally trying to get bit by it, but...
Well, the video with Roe, that swan was much more lenient as far as what... we went by there with Nick.
Yeah.
And that thing was out for blood. I don't know if they knew each other in a past life or something, or just a bad breakup, or I don't know what it was, but that was a pretty nice run course as far as the view goes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to run it. I don't want to run anywhere, to be honest with you. But the event was pretty nice. So as far as getting to see stuff, again, we're not just running a circle track.
Yeah. On that run, because there's like at YO, there's a gang of, it's like 2 regular size horses, 2 mini horses, a donkey, 2 mini donkeys, and a zebra.
That thinks he's a horse.
And they all hang out and they like rove around YO. So they were back by like the horse pen area, and a lot of people saw that and just like, it's one of those things that you run by and you're like, did I just actually see what the fuck I think I just saw? That was definitely a cool part of that.
How'd you like that in the brief? You're gonna run, your first checkpoint is a dinosaur. If you don't know what a dinosaur is, you'll think to yourself, that looks like a dinosaur.
Then you're going to run to a Mayan temple. It just sounds like you're just making shit up.
All of our stage briefs are done by 4-year-olds. Yeah. And then we went on a bear hunt.
Yeah. What was your favorite stage from like match staff perspective? What was your favorite stage of the weekend?
I think it was the team rope and the litter carry.
Yeah.
That stage was brutal to watch. I know it was heavier weight, and just the carry method. If teammates hadn't figured, I think the first 3 squads we watched go through there kind of struggled with the grip, and somewhere maybe it was a second or third heat, it started clicking, and then I started hearing the rumblings as it passed on. Okay, switch grip, reverse grip, and then the communication that would go through there. Watching everybody waddle through that litter carry was pretty rough, and knowing how difficult that movement was, the weight back butted up against your arm restricted your movement, so you're taking baby steps. If you drop those, a lot of people were hitting themselves in the back of the legs with it. It was a rough event, and then the ropes on top of that. I don't like watching rope climbs ever, and seeing people just torching through there was pretty impressive. That one was one where communication had to be on the spot, on the money. Hey, you're doing this, I'm doing this. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep. I'm forever picking a partner that's shorter than me for any time we have to do a litter carry. Because the whole time I'm like, well, this isn't that heavy. And poor Matt's back there bearing the load of the weight because I'm probably 6 inches taller than him, 5 inches at least. So, gravity works like that where I'm holding the weight up front or in the back and he's got just bearing a majority of the load. So I'm always going to have a shorter partner than me.
The other one that I think was fun to watch was the hill to die on, watching people get through there. Somebody, usually the partner who's going over the implement is standing there waiting and seeing the looks on their faces, like looking back for their partner, like, come on. The husband-wife couples always are fun to watch.
Yeah.
Most of the other teammates act like they're married anyway because of the way they bitch at each other. God, waiting for you again.
I think so. From the competitor perspective, a hill to die on, the one that we were just talking about, I didn't know how difficult it was going to be. We did something similar in Sierra Vista where you were going over and going under. So I had an idea, but that was tough. That was a really tough stage. And I think people didn't necessarily respect it at first because it didn't look like it was going to be that taxing. But that got you like was it 4 rounds? I think it was a 4-round stage. Yep. Round 2, it started catching up to me for sure.
And always, I think the one that is probably going to be the crowd favorite is anytime you bring the bike out.
Yeah.
The bike stage is always going to be one because you get to see people rip on it and then basically puke.
Yeah.
Which was a fitting stage for that one. And was a dysentery.
Dysentery, yeah.
So those stages in the moment for some people might seem a little boring. It's a relatively simple stage, but it's a hard stage. And it's, hey, can you pump for 60 seconds?
Yep.
And is that really what, and then everybody comes off that stage and they're looking at their calories and they're like, well, I could have got 2 more.
Yeah.
We were at 88% on this stage. And if I would have just done this, people are going to go home and think about that for a little while of like, I could have suffered a little more.
Everybody I talked to really enjoyed that stage. Sometimes the most simple stages, so one partner had to have their full kit on, including their rifle slung, and hang from a yoke. And as long as they were hanging, the other partner could earn calories on the Echo bike. And you had a 60 second max, and then there was a 60-second rest, and then you swapped, and then a 60-second rest, and then you swapped back, and a 60-second rest, and you went back. And it was tough. I'm pretty good at hanging, and my grip was taxed from hanging over that bar. I saw a lot of people fall off the bar trying to hold on, which was cool. I mean, that's the intention, right? You're testing where people fall apart. And if you can do that in under a minute, I think you've found like a good test, a good stimulus for that specific thing.
Any of those stages where, you have that minute break where the athletes can turn and look at each other or look at you as an RO. And, we did this in Vegas last year at Pahrump. Every minute as they come off the bike, after they're done shooting, everybody's standing there looking at me. And I've been there all day watching them. Like, you got 3 more rounds. It's not going to get any easier, but that it's almost like they're on death row.
Yeah. They know what's coming.
Yeah. They know exactly what's coming. And then they watch everybody wobble off the bike and completely, fall out. Athletes of every level doing it. And then the group behind them, they're just, oh man, I'm like, this is, for some people, that's their Everest. Watching it right there. Because on most of the runs, people don't get to see it. They're at the carbine portion or something. You see everybody run off and then 25, 35, 40 minutes later, they come back. So you don't see the suffering that goes on the entire time.
Yep.
And when you're standing there behind them, like nose to nose for all 15 minutes of the stage, those are the fun stages.
Yeah, I definitely, I agree with that. I like seeing people go through something hard like that afterwards. And, they're not in pain, but they're pushing through it in the moment. And then when they're done, it's the smile. It's the, oh shit, that was really fun. I think that's what I've always enjoyed about this sport and what I'll continue to enjoy and the thing that'll keep me coming back.
So I know we had some awesome event winners from Texas. Obviously the elite category rolling down. There was, it was not the normal shakeup that I was quite
Yeah.
expecting for the event.
Well, so I've been talking about Clint Gower since last year, and he went out there and he kicked ass, man. Him and David Merritt did awesome. It was cool to compete with them. They're both excellent marksmen, and they're very proficient. Like neither one of them is going to beat Hepner or like a CrossFit Games athlete in a physical workout, but their ability to control their heart rates and operate inside of their ability, and then get to the firing line and perform incredibly well. That's what worked really well for them. And then who was second place? Sal and who was Sal's partner? Anthony Giuliano.
Yep.
In the black, Anthony Giuliano. They did incredibly well too. And then Justin Betancourt and Jake Mizell. Justin looked like Rich Froning when he was out there. That's who he trains with, and he was fucking jacked. And those guys crushed it, man. All of them, all the men's elite did really well. Then on the female side, so we didn't have a female elite category, but we did
have one female competing in elite, which she held her own.
Yeah, Jenna Blackwell, she did great. And there was, I will say, the one misstep that I had in programming for the co-ed, including the co-ed teams against the male teams, was in that bike calorie stage.
Yeah.
Going back now, I would have given a probably a percentage increase for the female on the team.
Like 70 cents on a dollar.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get like an additional 30% of calories. Just like that's pretty standard. That there's a lot of tests that they've done for fucking CrossFit forever on that. So I think instead of them getting 10 calories, giving them 13 calories for that. And I think that would have leveled out that playing field because other than that, those two performed incredibly well. And I thought that was awesome. On the female side, you had Janae and Blair Drum. They won the females. And then it was actually, I say, and I hope nobody takes offense to this, a closer race than I thought with them and Mallory and Corinna. They were really close as well. And then Lexi and Lupe. It was, again, the female side of the house was good, hard competition, good, hard shooting. Like it was, I wasn't with them as much, but I got to watch them go through a couple stages. And man, the females continue to impress because they're like, they don't bullshit, they don't bitch, they just go out there and they just do it and just get through it. That's something that I respect about those divisions, and that's from intermediate all the way up to elite. So kudos to all the female competitors that we have.
So real excited to be getting back to the individual events. I know now we've had quite a few qualifiers for nationals. Yep. Some teams qualified in their respective divisions. Now I think there's going to be some people out for blood.
Yeah.
People trying to prove some things going forward. Hey, so-and-so was at this match. I could have beat them there.
Yep.
So I had some behind the scenes conversations with a few people where they're starting to figure out who's going where. And what I don't like to see is people hiding.
Yeah. Not going to an event because
I don't think we're going to have much of that, but people are saying, oh, this so-and-so is going to be at this event. I want to go put it on them. I'm just signed up. I got a practice score alert. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, come see me in tune-up. But Idaho is going to be a fun one for us.
Yeah. So we are, unfortunately, people going to like sign up for events are going to have issues. So we're sold out for everything with the exception of North Carolina, the New Hampshire team event, which I think we only have like 20 slots left for that one. And then South Carolina that's our last event of the year before nationals. So
Sniper Challenge.
And Sniper Challenge. Yeah. Thank you. I'm actually stoked about Sniper Challenge. I'll show my Sniper Challenge rifle here in a minute. Those are the only events that we have left that people can actually sign up for. So Utah, which you alluded to earlier, we now have 24 people on the wait list. I need another 36 people on the wait list, and then we're going to expand that field to 240. And in that, you're going to run 120 people through stages 1 through 4, and then 120 people through stages either 5 through 7 or 5 through 8, depending on how we do it.
As soon as that came up, this is something that we've done in every other action sport that I've ever played in. When I go shoot a big match, whether it's 8, 10 stages, they're set up all weekend, 3 days. So if you get there Friday, you go 1, 2, 3, and Saturdays, so on and so forth.
Yep.
And everybody rotates around. Now that does give you a little bit of headache if the weather or conditions change the event. And what we've talked about in previous events for the action shooting is, hey, squad up with all the guys that are your contenders.
Yeah.
So that you're squatting together. And And most of the guys will do that because they want to win on their best day. They want to be under the same conditions. And we can do that same thing where obviously the way we squat out, all of men's elite are together. They go the same rotation,
right?
Same time of day. And that'll allow us to run one turnover from Saturday to Sunday. I will be honest with you. Sometimes rebuilding these stages overnight and relearning a stage makes things a little more difficult. So like Saturday morning, we're going to have the same learning Sunday morning on new stages. So if we have the same stages set up all weekend, it makes the match run smoother, and pumping athletes through is going to be, I'd like you guys to sign up. So we've got 3 weeks on this road trip to sell some slots for this. But that would be, I think, a different dynamic where people can watch all the stages going on, and now they see it in front of them. While they're in between stages, they can go look at what they're going to do the next day.
That schedule, and I talked about this on Facebook a little bit. The 120 slot schedule works really, really well. We can do 20-minute resets for every single stage. You can start at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and you only have to go until like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we also allow for almost an hour. I think it was an hour at YO in between your individual stages. So there's only 6 teams or 6 heats in your individual group, and then like the turnover, just everything. I think as a competitor, it's awesome. You have time to eat. You basically do your stage, you go and judge, you eat, you chill out for about 45 minutes, you go to your next stage brief, and then it's time to do another stage. Like I enjoy that 120 person schedule a lot. So we'll be able to do that for 240 people because they'll be split between 2 different sides of the house.
And we have the time of day. Obviously February and November we're gonna lose some daylight there. So these summer events are gonna be much nicer to get people on the rink. Like 8 a.m. is gonna be daylight. Like well lit daylight.
It's not sunrise.
So the road trip, I mean, what are you looking forward to on this road trip?
So I love the area towards Idaho where we're going. Grand Teton is like 3 hours away from where we're going to be, which is one of the most beautiful parks in America. I think it's going to be really cool that we're going to get to spend a little bit of time there. And then as we're cruising across, we're going to make a pit stop in Michigan. That's where I'm from. So I'm going to take you guys to Detroit, which I think you guys are actually going to really enjoy. We're going to go to a Tigers game. We're going to get drunk and go to a Tigers game and walk around the city. And then we're going to go up north and we're going to go fishing on the St. Clair Channel, which is cool because you can like throw rocks at Canada. We can sit out on the docks with our ARs and be like, look what we have, freedom. Not in Michigan though. So
it's a low capacity match.
So it'll, I'm pretty stoked about that. And then we'll be over in Pennsylvania, and that event's going to be awesome. There's a lot of hype about that event. They're very excited to have us at Ben Franklin, so that'll be cool. The city of Rupert has been incredibly welcoming too, where we're going in Idaho. And there's a lot of cool stuff in the gun industry right around there too. So we're going to have some really cool vendors out there, and a lot of it's going to be a unique event for sure. So I'm really stoked about all those things. And then we've got Sniper Challenge right after that, and then coming back we'll be in, what's the next match after Sniper Challenge? North Carolina at Griffin Group, and I've heard incredible things about Griffin Group. I've never been there before. Have you shot anything there before?
I haven't shot at Griffin Group. I know they run a couple different
Memorial 3-gun
and heard it's a phenomenal facility. Everything we've seen on it. The support staff there is going to be big. Lots of LE folks in that area too. So I'm excited for another East Coast match. To be honest. The West Coast, it's beautiful out there, but it's dusty. I don't want to deal with the dust.
It's the temperature is going to be beautiful when we're in Idaho, though. I think it's going to be a little chilly in the mornings and then high of 70 every day, which I'm sure by then here in Texas it's going to be like 135.
I brought a beanie. Tina brought her Carhartt onesie, whatever it is, and but no, North Carolina is. I know Tina signed up for that one. She's jumping in. There's quite a few people trying to figure out match schedule right after that. Iowa for us competing. If I was not on staff, I would be doing every event, and that was my plan a couple years ago, was to go to every one. And I know there's a few people that are doing that, where they basically show up to every event, which we appreciate.
Yeah.
But people constantly ask, how do you recover from these things? I don't know. I don't like, especially when I'm working the event. I don't. It feels like we were just in Texas. Well, we're still in Texas, but it feels like I was on the YO yesterday. We got like athlete camp to the YO.
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty tight run there. So this 3-week run is going to be a little testing on my luggage can handle it or not.
Lots of sleeping. We're going to have to be nice to each other, all of us. We're going to have to...
Nice. We got some new guys that we got to break in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's... well, I'm excited. I'm excited to spend all that time with you guys. Was there anything else you wanted to add today?
Nope. Just, and we got to figure out our gentleman's bet for Sniper Challenge.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we did. Let's talk about Sniper Challenge rifle real quick. So, the 4 to 32 will be changed out of here, but this is a Tactical Games build. This is what I'm going to be shooting. My partner, I don't know I think he said he's going to shoot it. Lucas, he's going to be running the bolt gun. I'm going to be running the 223. So I'm pretty stoked about this. I'm running a Daniel Defense. We've got a Huxworks 5.56 flow on there, and then I'm going to be switching this out for an A-Tacker. But this is a Tactical Games rifle with an Arca rail and a bipod on it. So, if this is a configuration that you have, don't feel like you can't go out and shoot this match. I think we designed it intentionally where we weren't going past 800 yards so that you could be effective with a gas weapon. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And we'll announce publicly what our gentleman's bet is going to be for that. Who's going to be your partner, Nick Palacios?
I was trying to shoot solo, so I just shoot it one after the other. I don't know who.
You're going to carry both rifles up? If you carry both rifles up the stairs, you can do that.
I don't know if I want to partner with Nick, to be honest. I also want to partner with you on this event either. No, I'm just going to shoot my 18-inch TAC Games rifle with a 1-8.
Yeah.
And going to slay some steel, and everybody's going to be like, oh, man, we need to go back.
You have to have a partner.
Yeah.
It'll be Nick or Tina.
It's another team. Maybe I'll just RO. I don't know. I'll just prove stages, and then that way I'll just tell you, I'd have shot it faster.
That's what Lucas and I are going to run it probably Thursday, Friday, because the stages will be as blind as possible, definitely blind to him, but setting it up, I'm going to have, I'm not going to be doing it for a score, basically.
You still got to pull the trigger.
Yeah. And it's really just going to be a gentleman's bet between, Sal can be your partner.
How bad would that be? Like, the percentage of gap that you're putting on the crowd?
I need a handicap. Oh, God. Got anything else?
That's it.
All right, cool. I'm good, too. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all soon.